Welcome to my daddy's live show. Technically speaking, live. It is the best show ever, in my opinion.
That's right. I just did that. That is right. I have my 10-year-old that just introduced me to my own live show, and she's in the studio audience today. But welcome to Technically Speaking Live. It is Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or, as I always say, 11 a.m. on Thursday in Australia. What? Also Australia. That too. And as always, I am joined by the illustrious Mr. Stats. Stats, say hello to him.
Hello, everybody.
And I do have some new sound effects this week because right before the show, because I only do things within the 7 o'clock hour, right before the show, I have this one. Nope, that was Hot Mess Express from before. As you know, the show's already a Hot Mess Express. I have this one. Nope, stop that. And to make sure that I'm always on point.
Excellent point, Dad.
Well, thank you very much, DJ. I approve of the excellent point.
That is wrong, sir.
I disagree that it is wrong. Oh, yes, we got to bring that one back. But I need a very young child to get to sleep, so come here. Come here. You wanted to do this. I want you to stand right here. Come say hi to everybody. Don't spill anything. Come here.
Hi.
This is actually the person that just did the voiceovers. This is the 10-year-old. Say hi.
Hello.
You always wanted to be a YouTuber, right?
Yes.
Congratulations. You're now on YouTube. You are a published YouTuber.
Yay!
And now you need to go to bed.
How dare you? How dare you?
I love you.
Love you.
Good night. Okay, so that was heartwarming and all the feels. But I want to go ahead and get started with the show. Stats said hello. We got Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, welcome to the show. Mr. E-Root, welcome to the show as well. Big Rig Radio Network. What is happening down in the Buckeye State? Well, it was snowing a little bit earlier, and I did not take a coat to work today. I don't need to take a coat all the time. That's fine. Miss Kathleen, welcome as always to the show. Yeah, we got a packed agenda today. Packed. I'm going to tell you right now. What?
I was just going to say, there were quite a lot of links on today's show notes.
There was a ton of links on today's show notes, and it's going to become a saucy one. I'm going to tell you that. It's going to come right out of the gate. It's going to come out hot. And so there's a lot of different things going on in the industry right now. Let's start with one. Y'all know I love Google. I'm going to go hard on Google a little bit. This is one of those ones like, oh, you're clearly a Google fanboy, blah, 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 whatever. The Nest cameras went down Monday, the 24th. Today's the 26th, right? Yeah, it's 26th. Okay. They went down for almost a whole day. Basically, I think it was like 15 or 17 hours or something along the lines. They went down. Now, here's where the rub is. I happen to work in more of like a technology space. When I hear something along the lines of, well, something happened and we pushed something out to our servers and it caused all of the cameras to go down. Well, there's a reason why they make PT environments. There's a reason why they make dev test environments. There's all of those things you work all of the bugs out before you go into production, especially when it comes into something that your thing, you want to say, consumer, you can rely on me. I want you to put our products into your home, and you can trust us to do this. But if something like this were to happen, what are the ramifications of that? And this is really kind of where the rub at Google gets me, is the idea of not that they were down for 17 hours, but the sheer fact that they had something that was pushed to a server as an update, and it took the cameras down for 17 hours. Why don't you have some sort of like disaster recovery where like the switch is, oh crap, I need to switch this back right now? I mean, again, Google is a huge company, and I totally understand that. But the idea is like, wow, you could have something to where you could take down so many products. And some people are like, well, I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. What could possibly have happened? Some of these people use this as security. I've seen some tweets come out and say like, oh, I got my home broken into, and now I have no recording at all of what had happened. I can't go to the police with what I believe would be videotape or recording of somebody breaking into my home. And I even saw one earlier that talked about, and my elderly father fell down, and the only two times I needed the history, it was gone. So the idea is like, look, those are probably fringe cases at best, but in this house, a Nest camera is used as a baby monitor. So
Yeah, while those might be extreme examples, they are still pertinent and valid examples of the technology that Google is promoting for us to use to make our lives easier, more simple, and more connected to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the exact use cases that those people paid for, both the service, both the cameras themselves, the hardware, and the services, the monitoring and the recording services. So I wouldn't call them outliers. I wouldn't even call them extreme cases. They are examples of what can go poorly when a company doesn't plan correctly.
Yeah, I would really, I guess the thing is like, this is the quintessential parent move that I'm about to do. It's like, well, Jimmy, I'm not really mad. I'm just disappointed. Oh God. And that's the worst thing you can say. It's like, I'm disappointed. I got an email earlier from Nest that says, hey, we expected more of ourselves. Here's $5 because you're a subscription. Like I pay for Nest Aware. So here's $5 for your monthly service. It's like, look, I'm not worried about the $5. The $5 isn't what I'm worried about. I'm more worried about the fact that what happened. Like, I would expect you to patch servers that make sure that if there's any vulnerabilities or anything like that, you would constantly do that. But what happens if you push another update?
Well, yeah.
What's your oopsie control now?
Yeah. What's their continuity? What's their product development cycle? Why? Yeah, the $5 means nothing, both to you and to Google. So what's the why behind it? Why did it happen, and how are you going to prevent it in the future?
Right. I get it. Kathleen says that was one tweet. I agree with you, but there's probably a series of situations where there's more tweets that just wasn't there. Like I didn't tweet about the fact that a baby monitor that's used as a baby monitor, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't others out there that just didn't tweet about it. So it's a situation where I think there's probably more of those things. The good news is we haven't heard a lot about, it really sucks when people get broken into. That part really, really blows. But the idea of how many of those cases are out there? Hopefully not a lot. And so that kind of bothers me. Miss Sheila, hello. Welcome to the show. I'm just kind of warming up to what will be the ultimate. I will probably begin to scream. I can assure you, or most of the people out there. Moving on from the Nest outage, let's move to the Mac Pro, which has the most dumb, expensive accessory that I've ever heard. So the Mac Pro, which is already a ridiculously expensive, albeit very productive and gorgeous Mac laptop or Mac tower or desktop, I guess you'd say. It's like the best thing you could have if you want to try to run a live show or some type of, full production cinema studio. That's awesome. But now you can buy some wheels to wheel the thing around in your office, and the wheels, just the wheels to put your Mac Pro on is $400.
Say what now?
$400. You can go out and check out MKBHD, specifically talks about how why would you buy that? Do you really want your desktop computer rolling around on wheels?
I have never rolled a computer anywhere. I have always picked it up with two hands and very gingerly carried it somewhere without trying to drop it.
Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Jim Lynch, I'm sorry, I'm not really sure. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me? I hope so.
I got you.
I know you can hear me. So I don't know why you would ever buy that accessory. I bought casters for this desk that was not $400. The casters themselves were like $40. And it lugs this big heavy desk around, not a Mac Pro. And I trust them enough to where I could push this thing around. So I guess I'm not too worried about that. Let's see. You should have tweeted that. You're right. I probably should have tweeted that. I didn't think about it at the time. I have just shy of 1 million things going on all at once. So for $400, you can call Rent-A-Hunk to carry it for me. Bingo. You can have somebody carry that around for you. Look, I'll pay Stats $400 and say, every single Thursday I need you to move my desktop for a year, and you would take that $400.
Absolutely.
I know
every
you
single
would.
day and twice on Sunday.
Exactly. That's what you would do. Hang on.
Excellent point, Dad.
I agree, Gigi. Thank you very much for that excellent point. I love it. Okay, so that was dumb. Kind of going now to, okay, so I got to tell you, this next thing I want to talk about is totally not dumb. It's totally a waste of money. It is absolutely, unequivocally a waste of money. Let me see.
That is wrong, sir.
Okay, not that one. What about? Nope. No, well, I mean, I guess it's a live show. But the point is now that there's been popping up a lot. There's a lot of subscription services out there. You can get wine subscription services. You can get, obviously, lots of different apps and things of that nature. You can get food subscription services like HelloFresh, Blue Apron. You can get all these different subscription services. And now, finally, you can get a car subscription service. Now, take this for what it's worth. They've been around for a few years at this point, but Mercedes-Benz, they just launched a brand new one. You can now get the AMG models for Mercedes-Benz in their car subscription service. There is now a fourth tier, the AMG exclusive tier, which is now the fourth tier for Mercedes-Benz. There's 3 tiers before that. Signature, which is $1,095 a month. The Reserve, which is $1,600 a month. The Premier, which is almost $3,000 a month. And now the exclusive AMG tier, which is $3,595 per month. But don't worry, that comes with roadside assistance, insurance, service, maintenance, as well as a personal concierge that will flip you from one vehicle to another. You can legitimately go, you know what? Today I am feeling that I probably should be in a GT Roadster. And you can just say, hey, bring me a GT Roadster. And they will flip you into that car. That will set you back several thousands of dollars per month. But you can do that. Now, I thought that was dumb because that's a tremendous amount of money. And then I was like, I wonder if we do that because I live in Columbus, Ohio. I was like, do we do that here? And as a matter of fact, they are all over. You can have car subscription services everywhere and by way more people than I thought. BMW has one. Audi has one. Book by Cadillac has one. Care by Volvo has one. Jeep Wave had another one. Like all of these things, I had no idea that there was some type of car subscription service where I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to flip them out and I don't have to worry too much about it. But then I noticed, I was like, is there one in Columbus? And there is. There is one. Because all these other ones were like Dallas, Fort Worth, and Philadelphia, like major cities. Not to say that Columbus isn't, but the idea is like, okay, well, what do I get? Now, locally to Columbus, Ohio, there's a huge car dealership named Germain. Germain, remember the name. That used to be the jingle on the radio. And the point is they have, I guess, enough people that want to do this. You can get quote unquote elite membership plans for $2,000 a month plus $150 in tax. So $2,100 a month gets you access to a BMW 5 Series, a Lexus GSF Sport, a truck, a Ford F-150 Raptor, which is dope. Those are dope. One LT Grand Sport Corvette, a Benz SLC 300, and an Infiniti Red Sport, or a whole bunch of just different like SUVs. But $2,000 a month to get you that. And you don't own anything. You own nothing.
So I can think of one use case where this might come in handy. Say you're in the market for a new high-end vehicle, like you would get as part of these subscription services.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you want to be able to test the cars for a little bit longer than, say, a 1-hour test drive, which is what most dealerships will give you on any given day.
Okay.
So you sign up for this for 1 month, and you've already broken it down to like 4 cars. You're trying to decide between 4 cars. So you get to drive a different car every single day for a week, for a month, then you cancel the subscription and buy that car.
So you're telling me that you would pay $2,000 to do that?
Of course not, but I'm saying someone could.
I was going to say, that is the dumbest usage of money that I think I've ever heard. You and I spend money on a lot of dumb stuff.
Oh, yes,
But
we
that
do.
one's a level of dumb that I did not think would come out of your mouth.
Well, I'm just trying to put it out there for someone who might have the means and can't make up their mind on what car to buy.
Or
That is wrong, sir.
there you go. The girl knows what she wants. I got to give her a lot of credit for that. Okay, let's go to the next story. I'm just kind of plowing through the stories to get you to what I think will be the piece de resistance.
So we're saving that one for the end?
No, I'm saving it for the very next one after this. It's like I kind of got an axe to grind. Look, I love Gary Vee. Do not get me wrong. I think what Gary Vee does, he inspires a lot of people. But I think the thing that our generation has really started to pick up on, and I don't know if I like the fact that they do this, is this constant 24/7, 365 grind. There is an article out on The Verge that talks about the hustle culture optimization. It effectively, in a kind of a somewhat mocking-ish type way, talks about how you should optimize your time when you're not working to work more. No, I don't want to do that. At what point do we reach? At what point do we reach kind of like the breaking point as a society to go, you know what, 60, 70 hours of work just is not it. Like I actually treat my YouTube stuff as more of a second job. It is a part-time job. There's a lot of planning that goes into things like the live show, even though a lot of times it's the Hot Mess Express that you would never notice. But there's a lot of planning that goes into this. There's a setup, there's a teardown, there's a researching the stories, having conversations with stats about things that I want to do. Again, that's not a lot. You do that a couple times a week, plus actually recording videos, going out, shooting B-roll, typing up a script. I don't do a script. Those types of situations, I'm more of a rare use case where I don't do scripting. There's lots of bigger YouTubers than me, which would explain why they have way more success than I do. The fact that they make scripts and they do 2 and 3 videos a week and work a full-time job as well. At what point do we kind of get out of this completely grind society? I do not live to work. I don't. I do not live to work. I merely work to live to do the things. Like I truly enjoy doing things like this on YouTube. Like I genuinely enjoy doing this type of stuff, but I also know that it's not sustainable at times and I need to be able to step away and, go a couple weeks before I put out a video or something along those lines. But this 24/7, 365 grind culture tells me you can't do that. That's lazy. Don't be lazy. You need to optimize your time to do something a little bit better. And I think we just need to stop. I watched a wonderful video from Sorel Amore. I really hope I'm saying that right. I love her as a creator. She is fantastic. Now, while this video was kind of, I don't want to say sponsored by Polar Pro, but it did feature a Polar Pro product. The point is she made this really great point that kind of stuck with me in her video that she had talked about. She was so big on catching the right Instagram shot. Like she found this particular thing. I think it was like an old truck or something along the lines. And it was a great Instagram shot, a shot that still is on her Instagram, I believe, to this very day. Well, when she's in the shot, she said to her I think it was like a niece or someone that was younger and kind of looked up to her and said, hey, can you take this shot for me? They took the shot for her and she was standing there in front of the truck, kind of thumbing through, seeing if it was the shot that she wanted. And she looked up and saw like her aunt or her niece was like, kind of want to be like, oh yeah, I want to get in the shot with you. And she was like, oh my God, yeah, please come on, take the shot. Gave the camera to a perfect stranger, took the shot. Immediately then took the photo of just herself and put that on Instagram because that's what she was shooting the photo for. And then, and she admitted this in the video, kind of absentmindedly handed the memory card to somebody else who proceeded to erase it.
Ooh.
And the memory that she had of her niece and her aunt and herself in front of this really great moment is gone. Now, most people would argue like, well, yeah, but you still have that moment from your mind and your memory. And I'm going to touch on that in a second. But the point is that she admitted she was so caught up in getting that and sharing it with the strangers out in the world, that she forgot to live in the moment. And I think we do that as a society with this constant grind. And sometimes we just have to stop, take a breath, and go, I got to take care of myself right now. Is this the best thing I should be doing with the usage of my time? Now, I just said that I stopped and I was going to come back to the thing. And this is a perfect example, because as I started to talk, I couldn't remember what I needed to say. Both Stats and formerly Greg would tell you, I have the world's worst memory. And that's the point that I wanted to make. I have started to capture more photos, more videos, and moments like this than I have ever have before in my life. I can attribute it to a couple things, and I'm hoping that later in this conversation I'm going to remember what the couple things are, but I know one for sure is I am terrified to lose my memory. Like it is like you can give me, this sounds terrible, cancer, some disease, something of that. Look, I feel like I can, it's not easy, and I might be able to overcome that. You can cut off an arm, you can cut off a hand, you can cut off a leg. Okay. If you take my mind, that is the thing that I am scared to death of, because I don't want to lose it. Now, I'll admit this, and I don't know if this means that I have some sort of weird disorder, but I went on vacation with my dad when I was 13, and I have no recollection of the vacation. Not one. None. Zero. I remember nothing. I was 13. I understand that you might forget things when you're like 5 and 6 years old. I remember nothing at 13. I have glimpses of an 8th grade trip that I remember. What, in 8th grade? How old are we in 8th grade? 12, 13?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
13 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
I have no recollection of it.
Wow.
None. I don't remember things, and I want to. I really do desperately want to remember. And it's super frustrating. And where it flipped for me, and this is not a plug, where it flipped for me, like legitimately flipped for me, where I started to go, I'm going to take more pictures and capture more videos for me to remember stuff, was actually the Google Pixel 1. That was the device that has now helped me take 90,000 photos since its inception. 90,000. And it has helped me remember moments that I would otherwise have forgotten. It jogs my memory just enough for me to remember something. And that to me is extremely powerful. I have zero idea where I was going with this point. Not a clue where I even started this.
You were, well, the concept we were talking about
365 grind.
365 grind, always
Yeah.
being on, always working on the next hustle. And, you know, for certain people in certain walks of life, in certain periods of life, that doesn't make the best sense. I mean,
Right.
There was a time where you and I, and then Greg, we would sit down together multiple nights a week when each of you had one child and only one child. And we would try to plan the next great business venture that we were going to buy or sell or create to make enough money to where we didn't actually have to go into an office and work for somebody else every day.
Right.
But as we all grew in our lives, in our careers, and for you two, your massive amounts of kids running around all over the place,
Yeah.
that fell off to then we had man meeting Mondays.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
only once a week.
Now that you've said it, I remember Man Meeting Mondays. We painted a stupid, we painted the wall,
A whiteboard,
a whiteboard. That was so stupid.
No, it was great. It was
It
fun.
did not work.
I mean, it was a little messy.
It was messy.
So we went from multiple nights a week to man meeting Monday. Then it fell off completely for a while until you and Greg started the live show.
Yeah.
But even then, it was still only once a week at best where all three of us were together. And it's just because circumstances change. And as much as any one of the three of us might have wanted to live that 24/7 grind, there was just no way to do it under our current circumstances.
Yeah. You know, Kathleen makes a great point of the idea of it's really hard to stop the grind. I get it. It really is. I don't know what has to change, but the idea is it's incredibly difficult to stop. And I don't know if it's something that can be constantly going. My mom has a theory on this. We're so busy that we're not forgetting. It's not that we're forgetting everything. It's just our brains are choosing what's important in the moment. And I also forget a lot of chunks of my life too. And, you know, Zach, first of all, Zach, thanks for coming to the show, brother. the idea is, yeah, that's great. I agree with your mom on that. And Miss Sheila says the same thing, and Zach says the same thing, is that makes a lot of sense. For me, all the more reason that I start to capture these moments. I just captured a moment. If you saw on the show a little earlier, I just captured a moment that my 10-year-old was so excited about the possibility of being on camera. That is a moment that I now have. Now the rest of you got to share it with me. Is that that's the first time she's ever been on camera on YouTube. She's so excited about it. And now I have that memory, and I'm not going to forget, because if I ever do forget, I can go back and watch the video. I hope you're right on that, Kathleen, is the idea that my grandmother had dementia as well, that eventually became Alzheimer's, and that is the nastiest. It is a god-awful disease. I cannot express to you how much I hate that disease, to see what it does, because it changed my grandmother. That was not the woman that I knew when she got it. It was just awful, just terrible. But the good news about having the technology that we have today, and I'm going to spin this to the 365 grind, I swear it's related. The idea is like we can do a lot of stuff with the things that we have in our hand that allows us to continue to challenge our minds and be constantly busy and capture moments that matter. Is I have 75 hours of Greg that's available for his kids to watch. And I bring up Greg again because Greg's birthday was actually on Monday. Greg would have been 38 with us on Monday. And so I am so excited that I have the ability to share all of those videos and photos of the vacations that we went as two different families and things of that nature. It is incredible. I am so happy with the technology that we have. Yeah, it can be tough. It can be tough, but the idea is that it gives us so much opportunity, not only from a professional perspective, but to capture those moments as well. Mr. Michael Daniels, thank you so much. Love you too, brother. Great show as always. You always have. I love to watch your game shows on Fridays too. Those are dope. Genosis, welcome, my friend. Genosis was he was on the Saturday Night Tech Fights, the Royal Rumble, which was amazing. He did really, really well as well. He went up against a buzzsaw there in the beginning of it. See, I'm trying to remember some stuff, I suppose. But kind of the piece de resistance. And Zach, I think you might still be in here. If you are still in here, I'm getting ready to talk about slick wraps. Slick wraps. So, Stats doesn't know the story behind slick wraps, which I don't even know what rock you've been under because I've been tweeting about it for like a week since it happened.
Hold on. I know the recent uproar and everything. Before that started, I had no idea who they were.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't expect that.
But as I'm reading the article, I'm getting caught up. So
there you go.
Go right ahead.
There you go. And thank you, Miss Sheila. You're right. It is so fun to share memories because his kids are so much like him. So that's the thing. Okay, sorry, I was reading the chat there for it. You did not totally flake. You were fine, Genosis. Dude, you gotta give yourself credit. That was the first time you've ever been on something like that, and it's super stressful. You did just fine. Zach, so I'm gonna talk about it. Zach was on a podcast, whatever we want to call it. He was on Painfully Honest Tech yesterday, which actually had the CEO of Slick Wraps, Jonathan Edicott. I think I'm saying it right. Yeah, this story is constantly changing. What in the beginning was thought to be like this super duper awesome white hat, then disappeared. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of all over the place. So let me start with what Slick Wraps is. Slick Wraps is a company that makes skins very similar to that of D-Brand. They're based out of, especially if you ask the guy, they're based out of Wichita, Kansas. That's a company that has 15. I've learned a lot about the company because when I was watching the Painfully Honest Tech podcast yesterday, I learned all about the fact that it's 15 friends and family. This started in his basement. It's kind of his baby. It's the pet project that he has. So I learned a lot about what the company was yesterday. I kind of knew it before, not the Wichita part, but I knew it was like, mom and pop type stuff. But the thing that happened, according to this white hat hacker named Linksys 0 something something something, who now subsequently is not on Twitter. I don't know if that means he's been banned by Twitter or what. Wrote an article on Medium that said, I hacked Slick Wraps and then told him about it, and here's how I did it. And here's what they made. Now, I can 100% verify that they were hacked for sure, because I got an email from hello@slickwraps.com, their literal email, that said, you've been hacked, and then proceeded to give me my name, address, phone number of exactly where, thankfully it was old, but the point is they had my personally identifiable information from the database leak. And this email proceeds to go on and tell me exactly, this is what happened. I got access to their server stuff. This is what I did. And then the Links this article, by the way, Links swears that this is not the same person who sent this, effectively goes and said he started embedding things like text files on their servers and then had full access, basically shell commands. Like, it's a whole bunch of like IT, very specific stuff that's not important to this particular story, I don't think. But I was really surprised because they're saying I should say this. The White Hat is saying, I went out and tried to get in contact with the Slick Wraps on Twitter to say, hey, this isn't going to vibe, which is like the worst possible tweet. Like, why would a company ever respond to this doesn't vibe? No company's ever going to respond to that. What does that even mean? And so then they proceed to block him, which I thought was kind of weird. Like, why would you block? Because like, if you're not vibing, I mean, there's nothing harmful in that particular statement. I think it's kind of dumb to block, but whatever. It's their business. It's their prerogative. But then he proceeds to kind of tweet them more, or he didn't get blocked at the moment. He didn't get blocked that moment. He then proceeds to kind of tweet them more like, I have control of your stuff. Then they block him. And then somehow he gets in contact with another third party, and he says, I want to talk to Slick Wraps, like the main @Slick Wraps Twitter handle, unblock me. They unblock him. And all of this is he's laying this out in a Medium article, effectively like it's just happening. So it's just this one thing after another. And I'll be honest, I have to look at the facts. Was Slick Wraps hacked? Yes. Unequivocally so. They were hacked. What did the White Hat do? Well, according to his Medium article, he started to get full control. He had access to all of the databases with all of the customer information in it. He was actually in their accounts. So he could say, this is how much money they made. This is how many products they sold by month, how many returns they had. Like, was giving out some pretty specific details, which I'm not really sure that I would have led with that. I'm not like, what are you trying to get at by putting that in a Medium article? Like I hacked it and let me show you how I did that, and kind of block the PI information of the people that you're trying to protect. Like, that's one thing, but publishing their financials, like, what were you trying to do? Shame them? So like the White Hat was trying to do what I thought was the right thing, but I'm not really sure if it's the right thing, because it's coming out like, why would you release their financial information? You can say that you have their financial information and then give that. Yeah, more like Zach says, more like a gray hat. There's nothing White Hat about his actions. He's especially the constrained time frame. He tried to inform Slick Wraps, but does that excuse bad security? No. Yeah, it's bad everywhere you go. Like, what the person did to try to say, Slick Wraps, hey, your security sucks. That's good. I like that. That's very cool. How you went about almost everything else, unbueno. Just not good. Like, I don't know, like, what was your motive in that? What were you trying to accomplish in that? And I think it's, again, in a data privacy perspective, it's great. One thing I would have really liked to have seen, and I kind of put the comments out there in the Painfully Honest Tech live show, is I would have loved to have seen the guy say more about what he's going to do to protect the data. I learned, like I said, I learned a lot about the company's history and what the company does and why they care about the consumers. But I really would have loved knowing what they plan to do. Now, he is a small mom and pop shop. That is one thing. But I would think and he felt like it was very, like, really, really, he said he hadn't slept since Friday and all that other jazz. I mean, take that as you will. If it's your business, you're probably not going to sleep, but no sleep since Friday. I don't know about that. Probably a little overselling. But the point is, like, if it's that big of a deal to you, I would think, like me personally, I would want to know, what are you doing right now, random third-party company, to protect my consumer privacy today? Like, if I go out and say, the consumer privacy is of the utmost importance to me, like me as the CEO of a company, I would lay out exactly what I'm going to do to try to win you back. Because again, you can be like, hey, I'll give you free slick wraps. That's not going to win me back, man. Like, that's just not going to do it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, a wrap from either slick wraps or D-Band, $12. Like, giving me $12 in some type of coupon code is just not going to do it. Tell me what you're going to do. The answer might be, I don't know, like legitimately could have been, I don't know everything about cybersecurity. I'm not going to pretend as a CEO of a slick wraps company to understand everything about the security. What I can promise you, though, as the CEO of this company, that I am going to be more involved and understanding the ins and outs of cybersecurity to make sure that I protect the slick wraps as a brand and the consumer privacy. That to me is a really powerful statement. But what I heard is, I need to earn your trust back. Cool. And the words are great, but tell me how you're going to do that. Give me a little bit more how. I need to immerse myself in cybersecurity to understand exactly what I'm going to ask my Shopify, or what I'm going to ask my other people, or whatever third party might be, what they're going to do to make sure that I don't have this situation again. And then if I don't know that stuff, I'm going to ask so-and-so Troy Hunt, which is a big cybersecurity guy. I'm going to look at him and go, is this right? Is this something that I should be doing? Because look, I'm not educated as the CEO of Slick Wraps. If this is something good, I need to rely on that expert to say, yes, this is something good, and here is the reason why, and have them explain it to me until they fully know. Slick Wraps has had bad security. The hacker was always going to expose the data. The CEO said that there were a couple more emails where the hacker went off. Those tools, I'm very interested in knowing what those details are. I would love to know. But for me, this is, again, me personally thinking, if this was my company and it meant as much to him as it meant so much as me, as the way he kind of portrayed it yesterday on that podcast, I would want to know and say, I plan on doing this in the next 30 days, this in the next 60 days in order to try to win your trust back as a consumer. Because right now, what I have is I have a gray hat and his words, which are now deleted on the internet, and I have a CEO's words that somewhat I have questions about. I don't want to say I'm trying to like lambast him or anything of that nature, but I have a lot of actions or I have a lot of words from his mouth, but I don't really know what he's trying to accomplish from a data privacy perspective for the consumer. And I'm not expecting him to say, I know the ins and outs, because that's just not what he does. And it would be naive for all of us to say, I expect you to be a cybersecurity expert. But what I do expect as a consumer, somebody that I'm going to give you my personal information, what I expect is, if something like this happens, tell me how if it does, tell me how you're going to stop it and what are the protocols in place that you're going to have. And if you say, look, in the next 30 days, I just need to learn what cybersecurity is, that is a good start. That to me shows a lot of humility to say, I was not as well versed as I needed to be. And that to me would speak a lot as a consumer to say, this dude clearly is going to take it seriously when he says that he wants to spend the next 30 days and become a cybersecurity expert. And then I would say, what's your roadmap for 60 and 90 days? I would expect that. That's something that I would like to see, especially if I'm going to go into business with somebody like that. That's just my personal opinion. I like talking about this stuff.
Well, you are
easy now. Don't overshare.
I was just going to say you're a subject matter expert.
Right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. I like that. That's a good way to put it. We'll stop there.
And you're passionate about it. And that's
all those things. Yep.
That's what makes the difference when, that's one of the things you really do bring to the table on the live show, is that when you get, hi Bear.
That was the dog. That was not my belly.
When you get into one of these, fun little diatribes, you come from a point of credibility because, that's what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, Genosis brings up a great point. I would expect the CEO to tell us who's going to work with in the future cybersecurity matters. I agree with that. He mentioned Troy Hunt a couple times in the podcast yesterday, and then also worked about it. You can move you're fine. You're going to, okay. He also mentioned the fact that he was going to work with him a lot in the video that he put out on Twitter. And I'm going to come to that video in a second. Whew. I would expect Genosis, like you said, I would expect him to tell us, look, I'm not well versed in this. I'm going to hire Troy Hunt because he is a world-renowned expert in cybersecurity, and he is going to help us at Slick Wraps to make sure that you know that we mean business. And then I would follow that up with this. I would ask Troy Hunt to be on video with me and say, yes, I plan on working with Slick Wraps. That would have been tremendous. That would have gone a long way for Troy Hunt to go like, no, like he legitimately is real. You go and you pull a SME like that and say, no, he's not kidding. He's very serious about the fact that he wants to do this. Totally different situation I think we're talking about today. But he put out a video on Twitter. And look, not everyone is great on camera. Not everyone is a great public speaker. I totally get that. It takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of guts to do it. But I thought his video that he put out on Twitter was incredibly dry. He showed a lot of personality in the podcast yesterday with Zach and Viper and Jason. A lot of personality, a lot more personality than he had in that video. I would have loved to have seen that personality, not necessarily the one that he had out there. You could tell that he had definitely practiced that statement and written it, which again, I guess at the end, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth at this point. I guess at this point, that's what you have to expect. But I don't know. I thought I got way more out of the Painfully Honest Tech podcast from that CEO than I did on his Twitter message, which I guess you have to do as the CEO, I suppose, but yeah. I don't know. I'm really disappointed how the whole situation on all sides has really come up. I went hard on Slick Wraps on Twitter. I will fully admit that. I went really hard on them because that is a subject that is really near and dear to my heart. I believe in my heart of hearts that data privacy is a basic human right. I have said that before. I'm looked at like I have 14 different heads, but it is a basic human right, especially in today's day and age where my kids may not necessarily have the choice. They're going to get involved. They're not going to fully understand what it means to have their data private. We grew up in a time where we were pre-internet. Well, sort of. Pre-really robust internet. Is that a better way to put it? We're old.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can definitely remember a time where I had computers, but they weren't connected to the internet.
Right. So I remember that too. Our kids don't know that. They straight up do not know what it's like to...
Your kids don't even know what a desktop is.
Well, sure they do. They have one behind you.
Yeah, but it's not connected to anything. So
that's true.
To them, that's just a piece of something. They don't know what it does or what it can do.
That's a fair statement.
See laptops, tablets, and cell phones.
Yeah. That's true. I guess I never thought about it that way. Oh, and they didn't know what commercials were either.
Oh.
And I have roll-up windows in the Jeep. Sorry, we're going to go tangent. Roll-up windows in my Jeep.
Manual roll-up. All windows roll up and down, but manual roll-up windows.
No, when I say roll-up, I mean the literal act of rolling the window up and rolling the window down. I have windows like that. And for the first week, the kids were like, this is amazing. I can control the window without my dad, blah, 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 blah. And now they're like, oh, my God, I got to roll up the window. They hate it. They hate it, and I love every single second of it.
Wait till they learn about the manual door locks and you yelling at them in 5 years when you're getting out at Kings Island or something. You actually
lock your door. Lock your door. Yeah, I have manual door locks too. I'm like a heathen. I'm like a caveman.
Manual windows, manual door locks, but a backup camera and a satellite entertainment system.
Look, I don't question what Jeep does. I don't question it. I just go with it. 386 those were the days. That's the thing, man. That's what we grew up with. But the idea is our kids don't know effectively what privacy means back now because everything is connected. Case in point, my 4-year-old knows how to say, okay, keyword, do a thing, and it does the thing. And her voice is recorded and stored on Google servers. That's her voice. That is as PI as you get.
I actually just, knowing I was coming over here today, I agreed to have a slight little verbal sparring match with a gentleman I work with, and he's about a half generation older than we are. He's probably late 40s, early 50s, somewhere in there. And because he always reads about the big hacks and everything that come through, and he's like, well, don't you have an Alexa or something at your house? I was like, no, I have 3 keyword homes. And he's like, well, it's the same thing. And I was like, yes, to
Definitely not the same thing.
But I said with Scott's help, made a distinct choice, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years ago, to live and work and exist digitally within the Google platform. And I made peace with that, and I'm good with it. The only thing that I sometimes go back and forth with these days is the Instagram, because it's owned by Facebook, which we all know is the absolute devil, which I think we're going to get to in a minute.
I don't know. We're going pretty good on this. Zach talks. Mom, hang up the phone. I'm on the internet. Oh my God, I remember that. On dial-up. Oh my God.
Can you remember getting halfway through downloading a book or a song or something? And
yes, books. That's what you were downloading.
Yes,
Let's go with that.
Yeah,
okay, you're right. Yeah, you're totally right. You were just downloading books and music. Okay.
Yes, in the basement by myself.
Yep, that's exactly how it works.
Anyway, the conversation I was having at work was
that book was really worth it.
He was trying to make the point of, well, doesn't keyword own your voice or something? I was like, yes, but I have made a tacit agreement with them because they bring things from a technology standpoint into my life that I choose to allow to make my life easier or more effective, while also not doing the 24/7 grind.
Yep. No, I get it. Oh God. So more to come. Zach actually talks about it. Zach's got great videos out there, by the way. If you do not follow Zach Talks Tech and Genosis and everybody out like that, just go out, check them out. They're wonderful creators. Zach is in, I don't know, Genosis, are you in Canada? I can't remember. I know Zach is in Canada. My Canadian homies are showing up, and just completely going to throw it out there. I'm kind of self-inviting. I would love to be on any of your podcasts too, man. I love the conversations you guys had. I was dying to jump in yesterday. Like, I was messaging when Roberto was on, and I was like, I don't think he likes me, but that's okay. Like, I was like, oh my God, just ask those questions. I totally want to get in. But if you ever want like a guest, I would totally do it, and I would hope to have you on the show too. Like, I'm still working on how I get guests through this, but I would totally love to have you. I'm just going to throw it out there. Okay. Oh, God, Facebook. You're right. We are going to get to that one. But I don't know. That's kind of a downer. You want to do the shocking service that that Facebook sucks at? Shocking.
Why not?
So Facebook's latest transparency tool doesn't offer anything. Effectively, it's just the tip of an online iceberg. So TechCrunch actually put an article out, talks about Facebook switched on global availability of a tool that lets you see exactly what they're tracking, but it doesn't offer much. And this gets into yet again another conversation around data privacy. And this came up because of the big data misuse scandal. There is a common misconception out there, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to stick to my guns on it. In 2018, when they talked about the Cambridge Analytica thing with Facebook, Facebook came out and said it was a breach. It was a breach. It was a breach. It was a breach. And let me go ahead and tell you, it was not a breach. They were allowed to have access to that data. What Facebook didn't know was the fact that Cambridge Analytica was able to do way more stuff with that data than they could even possibly imagine. Also, Facebook needs to be really careful how they're throwing around the word breach. When you throw the word breach around in either the UK or in the US, there are things that are breachable laws. There are regulations that say if you have a quote-unquote breach, there are certain things that you must do in the time frame. And I do not think that they did that. And they would be in violation of that law, thus subject to more potential fines. But the point is, it wasn't a breach. So I think they're okay there. They were just trying to use it more of a PR perspective. They track all the things. So this tool effectively kind of goes through as what can you actually purge from your history, delink it from your Facebook account and things of that nature. It is just a half-baked tool that shows you that Facebook has almost no idea how to actually get all your data off of its own servers. They have no idea how to consolidate their servers or consolidate the data on their servers into one single user for you to delete stuff.
Yeah, I think,
and let me tell you, that is a systematic problem that's going to get them into a lot of trouble when the California Consumer Privacy Act comes around.
well, yeah, I mean, I was skimming that article real quick, and it talks about how Facebook has become so integrated into the modern web that even if you are on a website that has absolutely nothing to do with Facebook, if Facebook is contracting with a company that is putting ads up on that website and you hover your mouse or your cursor over the ad, but even if you don't click, Facebook knows where your mouse was on the page in relation to that ad and how long you left it there. So that is so intrusive and pernicious.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Facebook has grown so exponentially over the last decade without really, like you said, being able to know where all of the data related to each individual owner is, that's terrifying.
Well, CCPA says you have to. Like, that's the thing most people don't understand is
Good luck.
the California, it's tough. I'm pick on Facebook, but it's tough for almost everybody. The idea is like the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, effectively has 4 parts to it. The first one is you got to know what data you have on somebody. Who do you share it with? What do you do with it? And then ultimately, if I ask you to delete it and you have no business reason to have it, you got to delete it. Oh, by the way, all of that in 30 days. And that sounds fast. If you have a data breach in the UK, you have 24 hours to alert them. Otherwise, you're subject to fines. What? Data privacy is a big deal. 2020 is a year of massive data privacy regulations, and I am stoked about this.
So when are we picking up stakes and moving to the EU so we're covered by the GDPR?
Well, you got to be careful how you do that because you don't have to live in the UK. You just if you do business with somebody in the UK. So if it's a business in the UK, that's where it is. But that's even gray area because if you do business in the UK, like
I thought GDPR was EU, not UK.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
Sorry. There
Just
that
like, I
that
wanna
whole,
make sure I'm
that
fully
whole mess
understanding.
is a mess over there.
Oh, it's a
like,
big mess.
Yeah, the EU. Great.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
So the idea is if you do business over there, then you're subject to a lot of stuff. If your data is over there, you're subject to the same amount of stuff. But if you just happen to have an office, but say that office is based in like Ireland, and you don't have data that's in the UK or the EU, and it happens to be on a data center that's in the US, you're not.
CCPA.
Yes, but you're not subject to GDPR.
Right.
So
And-
there's ways companies are trying to get around it, which
Well,
I totally get.
It's the same
It's
problem.
expensive.
It's the same problem with the U.S. tax law.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of companies will have their official corporate headquarters and tax bases wherever in the cheapest place around the world, even though their global headquarters could be a broom closet in an office building somewhere.
We have talked a lot about way more than data privacy than I thought we were going to get into tonight. It was a good conversation, though. Like, it's a big deal. To me, it's a really big deal. It's like, so like the big thing for me is data privacy and data ethics. Like, you have my data, what should you do with it? Like, I think we have to start asking the questions of our companies that we do business with of, what are you doing with my data? Like, I want to know that stuff.
That was actually the exact reason why I had the conversation with the slightly older gentleman at work today. Without going into any of the details, we work with a third-party vendor to do some things for us. And as such, I have to have a physical ID card with them.
Mm-hmm.
To renew that physical ID card this year, they wanted a new picture of my face.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted them to explain why my picture, which you already have on your server, is less than a year old. Nothing about me has changed. None of my vitals, none of my PII, none of my background information has changed. Why do you need a new picture when you are not regulatorily required to have an image of my face? And I haven't quite gotten a good answer enough yet.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway. In Ohio, They just signed a law earlier that now the DMV openly shares your driver's license picture with the law enforcement. So like if they wanted to get it, they can get your driver's license picture, which you had to renew last year.
No, I
The year
actually
before
don't,
last?
I don't have to renew until 2021. So
Really
yeah.
interesting.
Well, you got to remember, I didn't grow up here, so I didn't get my first license at 16 here.
There
So
you
I'm
go.
on a different
There you
cycle
go.
than you and Justin and everybody else.
Yeah, okay, I get you. Stop talking about data privacy. Don't stop talking about data. I thought you said stop taking. We do need to know. Like, so, like to me, I promise you, like on this particular live show, I will talk about data privacy. I will talk about data ethics because these are questions that we need to start asking the companies that we do business with. Of what are you doing with the data that you have on me? Some of it can provide really amazing, like super awesome things. A great example. This is a very tangible example that borderlines on: is it creepy or is it awesome? And I'm gonna stick you with this right before we go. Last story. Homage. You guys know I love homage. We love homage very much.
You're wearing homage right now.
I'm wearing homage right now.
So am I.
Are you?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm going to tell you a story that, depending on who you are, it's creepy, but I do not look at it as creepy. But I can see why someone would say it's creepy. And here's the story. Homage, there was a woman who was pregnant, and she bought a onesie from Homage for the baby. And unfortunately, she lost the baby. And so she returned the onesie to Homage with a note, why? Hey, I don't need this anymore. Actually, take that back. She returned the onesie, and that was it. Well, because she subscribed to their mailing list and she was connected with them on either Instagram or Facebook or something, connected with them on social media, they were able to see the fact that she had made a post about losing the baby. So they followed her story on Facebook, and she got pregnant again. And she was able to have the baby this time. And Homage, because she had done business with Homage before, they sent her a care package with the onesie from Homage, with some other stuff, of course. Now, is that creepy?
Knowing Homage and the company that they are.
Nope. You step back. You have no history because you're going to be jaded or biased a little bit. Is it creepy?
A little bit.
There you go. But I look at it as a little bit differently. Like that, I have to, myself, I chose to interact with them on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I don't have Facebook, but I interact with them on Instagram and I interact with them on Twitter. With those two things being public, I have to assume that if somebody has a question about something, they will go look. Perfect example of this. Monday was Greg's birthday. I made a post on Twitter and a post on Instagram about Greg. It would have been his 38th birthday. How much did I miss him every single day? And I wish him a happy birthday. Homage did the same thing. The exact same thing. And I did not tell them it was his birthday. Somebody was watching, saw it, and said happy birthday to him too. Now, is that creepy?
No, because of the established relationship that you had already engendered with them.
Okay. I mean, that's the thing is, like, to me, I look at that as like, you will find no bigger Homage like supporter than me. None. Zero. I don't know anybody that would support. I will fight to the death for Homage. Like, that's just how it is. Like, I like what they've done for us, and Melissa is incredible. But when I hear they do that for other people too, like that story that I just told is extremely powerful. That is making a customer experience that I can get down with. But that requires you to give up just a little bit of your data privacy for them to capture that information to deliver an extraordinary service. So, do you embrace the creepy to get results like that?
I think it's up to each individual consumer and the service that they are connecting with. Like
And-
you and I have made our peace with Google.
Mm-hmm.
You and I enjoy partnering with Homage and Land Grant, which we've done, in memoriam of Greg as well. So I think as we move forward as a society and, data and PII and social interactions and things like that of a digital variety as opposed to a person-to-person variety, the choices we make become even more important every single day.
And that's the important. You said it right in the beginning, and I almost cut you off because it was the most important thing. It's the expectations of the consumer. I look at the responsibility. The responsibility is not only should the company know about the consumer, the company needs to understand what the expectations are of their consumers as well. If a consumer thinks that what I just described is creepy, don't do it for that consumer, because that infringes on something that makes them uncomfortable. But I would expect them to know about me, that that's the type of service that I would, one, love to have and almost borderline expect. That's what I want to experience. But it's on their company themselves to understand what the expectations are for the people that they're doing business with. And all of that is driven through the data that we provide them. That's at least what I think.
That the data that we choose to provide them.
Correct. You got to use the data that I provide you responsibly.
But it's also incumbent upon the consumer to safeguard their data responsibly, and that's where GDPR and CCPA really come in to help protect the consumer who might not be as well versed on these
Agreed.
subjects as you are.
Look at that. Man, you just segue, baby. You're just tying it back.
Executive producer.
Executive producer stats. I feel like that was a good usage of that. Wait,
Excellent point, Dad.
thank you, Gigi. I really appreciate that. Now, there's a couple things that I just kind of want to run down really quick is I might look at, I have a Canon T7i, and I love the way that this thing looks. I might go with a Fuji X-T4 once that comes out. But ironically enough, the reason why the production is impacted there, the coronavirus. There's so many different companies that are impacted from a logistics perspective because of the coronavirus. It is a really big deal. Like, not because I don't get my product, more and more people are being infected with the coronavirus. It's a big deal. If you are sick, stay home. Seriously.
Absolutely. I
I
mean,
can't express that enough.
I was reading a statistic earlier today that for the first time this week, more confirmed cases have been reported outside of China than there were inside of China. Now, being the security professional that I am, I take any type of statistics or data coming out of China with a very large grain of salt.
Sure.
Grain of rice would have been a better joke there, but we're not going to do that.
Wow, that was...
Yeah, So, but
Okay.
what that really means is this is by no way, shape, or form anywhere close to being over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting alerts on my work phone that's saying confirmed cases in Florida and California, both coasts.
Is that real?
Oh, yeah.
That's like you just got
Just
that.
now.
No.
So both coasts of the United States, which is where our major entry points are, which is also where our lovely government has said these are the only places that will accept flights coming in from the Far East, which means those are going to be the first outbreak centers here at the United States. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you're sick, stay home. That's the best. Yes, please just
Get help. Don't ignore it, but try not to
don't
infect
ignore it. Go
anybody
get
else.
help. So, yeah. All right, we're at an hour, and I'm going to call it. Stats. Hit him with your socials.
I am at Helix Heinlein on the tweet machine, and I am at Country Smith on the Instagram.
I am at the Scott Peachy on Instagram, and I am at Scott Peachy, Fuzzy Fruit with an EY on the end on the Twitter machine. Interesting show tonight. It was really, really interesting.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Thank you all so much for joining. You are gentlemen, gentle ladies, and scholars, all the things, and we will See you next week. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm bringing a little bit more energy next time. Maybe we won't have to talk about like serious stuff. We can talk about not serious stuff.
We can talk about Mac Pros rolling across the floor.
Who does that? Why would you buy $400 carts? That's what you just bought. You bought a $400 cart because it says Apple.
You know, within a couple of weeks,
So
somebody will post a
stupid.
video somewhere of their kid like skateboarding a Mac Pro across the living room.
It's $400. What are you doing?
Those must be the best wheels ever made.
Well, it's for $400, they better be. $400? $400? Those things better roll infinity. Infinity spins like a pool. Doesn't even make sense. I'm out of here.